For our 21st century research projects, our main focus was to examine the use and access of information with the help of technology. Our documentary looks at the aspect of research and technology usage when it comes to 21st century learning. It tries to get the opinion of those affected by the changes that are being proposed for the future education practices. Here's what they have to say.
Do you feel that the library provides enough resources?
I think they do. They provide lots of help and support with web content and as well as hard stuff like books and magazines. Whatever content you need, they have it.
Yes, I do. I feel the library provides more than enough.
Yes, I believe so.
Yes, I do.
Should students be mandated to use the library for research projects? Why or why not?
I don't think they should be required. I think they should be strongly advised to use the library because the library provides an enormous amount of resources in accreditable research and articles and important.
I think it should be optional to the student. It might be useful, but like me, I don't really use it, so if I were going to use it on a project, I'd probably BS it. So, I don't know, let's throw up.
From a sample of 60 students, 22% agreed that the library should indeed be mandated for research projects, and the majority of students, which are 78% of the population, disagreed.
Should students be able to use Wikipedia for research? If so, how and what restrictions should be enforced?
I do believe students should be able to use Wikipedia, and as far as history goes, encyclopedias have been made by people who have had to gather a lot of information from multiple sources. And I mean, some may be less credible than other sources. Encyclopedia hasn't always had the most success with some entries. It's made by people, and now there's Wikipedia, which is also made by people, surprisingly, and I guess it has the same faulty. Some sources could be bad, some sources could be.
I think that students should be allowed to use Wikipedia for research. However, they should also be required to look into the sources that are cited on the Wikipedia page, because anybody can go in and edit Wikipedia. People will also then cite the sources that they found, and that could actually be a useful tool for students to not only see what has already been written, but then also delve deeper into the source of that text as well.
I think that students should be allowed to use Wikipedia. Multiple studies have shown that the error rate is about 3%, which you find in any printed encyclopedia. As far as restrictions, I think that any Wikipedia article that has been deemed either controversial or is still in flux and doesn't have enough information should be restricted. So, for example, certain hot button issues or current events where information is not available shouldn't be used for research.
I think that they should just find sources, credible sources from Wikipedia, but not actually use the content on Wikipedia itself, since you can easily change it.
From the same sample, we were able to conclude that the majority of the students in this poll, who are the 75%, were in favor of using Wikipedia for research, and 20% were against it. There were a few undecided, which made up only 5% of the population.
Should students be allowed to use computers or other technologies for exams?
I would say that there's a line to be drawn. Basic calculators, maybe graphing calculators should be allowed, but computers and phones should not. Anything that's able to access an outside source of information should not be allowed.
It's debatable. If it's something simple, like simple arithmetic, like 1 + 1, I'd say no. Or anything along those lines based on the major. Now, if it's extremely difficult, where your test would take, say, hours, yeah, I'd say let them use some form of technology. That would make a lot of sense.
Yes, they should in certain areas. I think calculators, specifically graphing calculators, are needed and necessary for a lot of exams. Simple calculators could be used in classrooms that aren't involving complex mathematics, but still need maybe to check a basic number. I think those should absolutely be allowed. As far as laptops and phones, absolutely not. There's too much use and leeway for cheating, either within students or searching online. Even if you were to disable the network, there's still many hidden files and folders that there would be no way a teacher could check. So I completely disagree with those technologies in any and all classes.
So what do you think the pros and the cons are when it comes to this issue?
Pros include being able, if you are able to use a computer, you're able to go online and look up things as you would in a workplace. If you didn't come across a program problem or a math problem or an English sentence that you're not able to figure out, in the workplace you're able to go online and find an answer. But in an interview to get that job, you're not able to do that. And that's one of the cons of the issue, is that if you're taking a test or you're in a job interview, you can't say, oh, hold on, I need to go look that up real quick, because the interviewer expects you to know what the answer is before answering.
Well, some of the pros are that students using those type of technologies is something that in the industry that you get to do. When you're in a job, you can use any resource available at all in order to answer a question. The con side of that is that school is where you really need to learn knowledge, which actually helps searching for things online when you're a graduate student or when you're in the industry a lot easier. So there are pros to students being able to use it. They would have much better answers, but it doesn't impart the knowledge and learning, which is what teachers are looking for.
When asked about the use of technology in classrooms, primarily for exams, 78% of the population agreed, while 22% said that it wasn't necessary.